Hello and welcome in. I am joined by Matt Galatson. Matt, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Okay, so before we jump into tomorrow's game against Arizona State, let's look back and talk about the Clemson game, what you liked, what you didn't like, coming off of that win.
I think you got to start with the running game. Obviously, they dominated on the ground, 292 yards, 146 from Jaden Blue, over 100 for Quintravian Wisner as well. Uh, I think that's been their one weakness this year when they have lost in both games to Georgia has been on the ground. They weren't able to move the ball at all. So it's nice to see that they can do that against pretty much anybody else. Clemson didn't have the best run defense in the country, but they've got some talented guys over there. And then one thing that kind of got lost in that whole uh, situation with Jaden Blue with his two big touchdown runs is that Quinn Ewers actually recognized something in the defense on a called pass play and then audibled into a run on both of those big touchdown runs. So it's great to see that from Quinn as well. The one concern I had coming out of that game, I think, would probably be the pass defense. But I think that was more of an anomaly than anything else. And I think they'll be right back on track versus Arizona State.
So the game in Mercedes-Benz, I feel like there's been so many games here this year. Arizona State, obviously their offense gets a lot of the shine due to Scatterboo and their run game really is their bread and butter. What do you think needs to be done in order to stop that run game?
Well, you just got to be disciplined and sound in your assignments. Texas has the athletes and the talent to at least slow down Scatterboo. Nobody's really done it this year, but they also haven't faced a run defense like Texas this year. So something's got to give. Um, I don't know that there is a team in the country that could really run effectively on Texas all year outside of there was one or two games where they gave up over 100 yards, close to 150 yards, but then the next week they'd go back and they would nip that in the bud and they would hold the next team to under 100 yards. So I really just think you got to be sound, play your run fits, and and they got to trust the guys next to them, and they could have a good shot to slow them down. Easier said than done. Obviously, he's a heck of a back.
So you mentioned Quinn Ewers earlier. Him and Cade, obviously, they played against each other in the state championship in high school. So that was, a big talking point, and it was a great game. Like you said, Quinn definitely settled in. He looked more like himself, but I believe he had two interceptions. With Arizona State, they have 15 on the year. I think they're ranked sixth in turnovers. What is the key for Quinn to not partake in that?
Well, I think that the one interception that really stood out to me was the early one, and it bounced off DeAndre Moore's hands and into a Clemson receiver's hands. And a similar thing happened against Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then a similar thing happened to him against Texas A&M and against Vanderbilt. So there's a lot of deflections at the line and receive and just unfortunate things. And he's got 10 interceptions on the year. I think probably half of those are his fault. So, that's something to consider as well. I don't think that Arizona State has really seen a passing attack like Texas. I don't think they've seen a quarterback like Quinn Ewers. I don't believe they played Colorado in the regular season. I don't believe they played. I think Iowa State was obviously the best team they played in the Big 12, but I don't think that they faced the upper echelon of that conference. Whereas, Texas, they are the upper echelon of the SEC. This is obviously going to be their toughest test that they've seen all year. So I think Quinn's going to be fine, obviously. Um, Arizona State's pass defense has been kind of hit and miss, and that their top safety is out for the first half because of a targeting penalty in the Big 12 championship. So I think they can take advantage of that. And for Quinn, I really just think it's about taking care of the ball. You know, don't try and force anything. I don't think they're really going to have to force anything against this pass defense. I think it's going to be there if they're just patient and they wait for their opportunities. So I honestly expect another pretty big game from Quinn. Maybe even bigger statistically than it was against Clemson, where he really only threw for 202 yards, but he was very efficient and hit the big plays when he needed to.
So obviously, Texas made the playoffs last season. Do you, from your point of view, have you noticed any jitters, any, like, okay, we didn't get to where we wanted to last year. This is our year. Or do you think it's just business as usual, like what Stark preaches?
I think it's just business as usual. They expected to be in this position again. Sure, it was motivating for them to be knocked out last year and not finish the way they wanted to finish, but I think they expected to get back this year. They kind of expected the result against Clemson. Really, everything has gone pretty much to plan this year. They've dominated every opponent they faced outside of on the scoreboard at the end of the day, which is kind of weird. But they have been the better team on the field almost every game they've played, including the SEC championship game against Georgia. Just didn't go their way.
Yeah.
So I think that they're confident. I think that they know that they can take care of business. And if they just play their brand of football and they, don't commit the dumb penalties and don't commit the shoot yourself in the foot mistakes, that they're going to be in a position that they want to be in at the end of it.
So if you had to pick one biggest key to victory.
Stopping Scadaboo and I can never pick just one, so I'm going to say stopping Scadaboo and then just taking care of the ball. Don't make the dumb mistakes in the red zone that they made against Georgia, against Texas A&M. And if they do those two things, I don't see any way this game is closer than 2 touchdowns.
Score prediction?
I'm going to go 34-17 Texas.
Oh, okay.
I think Arizona State has had a great year. I think they've got some talented players. They're down their number one wide receiver. That the safety being suspended for the first half is kind of a big deal to me. They don't have a fantastic all-around defense, and I really think Texas is kind of built to bully them. And the one other thing I would say is Arizona State has been very cocky all week with the things they've said, from Sam Leavitt to Cam Scadaboo to everyone else. So I think Texas, had that not happened, Texas might have walked in with a different attitude, but I think they're going to be out to prove something themselves on Wednesday, and I think they're going to do that.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Matt. Kickoff is tomorrow, the 1st of January, which is so crazy to think that we're already a day away from 2025 at noon in Mercedes-Benz. Thank you all so much for watching.